Today, we'll take a look at some of the worst stuff that happened in the table tennis history. We'll go from things that are not really that bad to things that are downright horrifying. Starting with the Chinese team protest. It was 29th of May, 2017, and Kong Linghui, the head coach of the Nationals women team, was suspended from his duties because of his involvement in an ongoing lawsuit. Allegedly, he borrowed $700,000 in 2015 during a visit and failed to repay the debt. Because of this, the CTTA announced a reformation of the national team's structure. A part of this restructuring meant moving Liu Guoliang, a former Olympic champion, from his position as head coach of the men's national team to vice president of the CTTA. People were not happy. Many players and fans considered it a demotion for the legendary coach, and so they decided to protest. The Chinese players Ma Long, Xu Xin, and Fan Zhendong, along with coaches Ma Lin and Qian Shi-Chan, did not appear for their scheduled round of 16 matches, giving their opponents automatic victories. What is even more interesting is that just before the matches were supposed to happen, the players and coaches posted identical messages on Weibo. At this moment, we don't like to play anymore. All because we miss you, Liu Guoliang. Needless to say, it was not taken lightly. The ITTF issued a statement on June 24th and expressed strong disapproval. President Thomas Wiechert said the federation was very disappointed that the three best players in the world have forfeited their matches at such a big event, and promised he'd work with the Chinese authorities on sanctions. China's General Administration of Sports also released their own statement, saying the athletes' behavior was a breach of professional ethics and showed no respect to their rivals and the audience. They also said that leaving the tournament without authorization had no regard for the interest and glory of the country. It ordered the CTTA to investigate and deal with it severely. Even the legendary player from Germany, Timo Boll, was interviewed about the situation. I'd like to note at the time, Timo Boll did not know about why the Chinese players withdrew from the tournament.
Suddenly I heard they won't play, and so I was also very surprised and I had no idea what happened. So now it's very open, but still it's a strange feeling if they suddenly disappear, and it's not a nice feeling, but I think they will have their reason.
Sometime after all this, the CTTA released a signed apology letter on behalf of the protesters. Feel free to pause the video and read it. Now, as for how Liu Guoliang himself reacted to this, he made a post on China's social media Weibo, where he publicly supported the CTTA's restructuring, accepted full responsibility for his players, and said the nation's interests must come first, over personal loyalty. This post was around 600 words long, but I was unfortunately not able to access it fully from where I am. A two-time Olympian from the US, Kanak Ban, has received a ban from the US anti-doping agency, despite never testing positive. You see, high-skill athletes in sports that are a part of the Olympic or Paralympic teams are placed into a registered testing pool, also known as RTP, and every 3 months have to provide information such as their daily overnight address, training, competition schedules, travel plans, and specific 60-minute time slots where they guarantee they are going to be. That way, they can be tested randomly and get caught if they are in fact using what they shouldn't be. On March 18th, 2022, Kanak missed his first test. On June 2nd, 2022, he missed his second. And on September 4th, 2022, he missed his third and last one, which led to a violation and triggered a suspension as well as disciplinary proceedings. Kanak tried to explain that the missed tests were not intentional and said it all came down to things like miscommunication and other errors related to administration. One of those errors was that his phone number didn't have the correct international dial code, so when the doping officer tried to call him, they couldn't reach him. Despite all this, Kanak was given a 1-year ban, and his trajectory shifted dramatically. Before the ban, he was ranked 23rd in the world. After the ban, he was stripped of all his ranking points during the suspension. He also couldn't compete in many events, including World Championships, World Tours, Pan American events, and even WTTs. On top of that, he lost his primary income that came from professional club contracts and national stipends, had to train alone, and eventually launched a GoFundMe to cover his training expenses. After his ban ended, Kanak had to work really hard to just get back to where he was before, and as of now, he's ranked 28th in the world. Between 2018 and 2020, 4 British players, Luke Saville, Darius Knight, Joseph Langham Ferreira, and Kazim Adelaki, were placing bets on table tennis matches where they had inside information. Most of the matches they bet on were small tournaments, many of them taking place in Ukraine. These events were easy targets because they were streamed online and not many people really cared about them. In 2020, the UK Gambling Commission's Sports Betting Intelligence Unit detected very unusual betting patterns. Bets were placed through British accounts, but many of them were on Ukrainian matches. That was the start of an official investigation. It was later revealed that the players were not only betting on matches where they had insider knowledge, but some of them were also involved in fixing the results, meaning they planned on what the exact results would be. During the investigation, it was discovered that the players were connected to a match-fixing network outside the UK. The network was linked to an Australian betting ring led by Adam Green, a former Australian national player. Green provided information about fixed matches to Luke Saville, who then bet and profited off of them. Between 2020 and 2024, the Gambling Commission, Table Tennis England, the ITTF Integrity Unit, and Australian authorities all worked together to collect evidence. This included betting records, communication logs, match footage, and financial transactions. In March 2025, Table Tennis England announced the disciplinary decisions. Luke Saville was suspended for a minimum of 6 years with no guarantee he'll be able to return. Darius Knight was banned for 6 years, Kazim Adelaki was banned for 5 years, and Joseph Langham Ferreira was banned for 3 years. To this day, none of the people involved made any public statements about the situation. Match fixin'? No, we already had match fixin'. Let's move on to the next one. On New Year's Eve 2020, Shu K, now a former Chinese player and coach, invited several players, both men and women, to his hotel room during a training camp to celebrate. After some time, guests started leaving, except for one young female. When she tried to leave, Shu convinced her to stay longer. After some time, she finally managed to get back to her room. Shu then contacted her on WeChat, asking for her room number, saying he wanted to keep talking with her in person. She told him she was tired and wanted to sleep, but Shu did not take no for an answer, and somehow showed up at her door anyway. Shu then forced his way in and engaged in inappropriate conduct. The young female reported that she resisted and told him no repeatedly. At first, nothing happened. The incident was not reported to police or officials at the camp immediately. Shu left the camp a few days later on January 5th, 2021. The case only came to light in November, when a team member who had heard about the incident filed a formal complaint to the ITTF Integrity Unit. This started a formal investigation. The ITTF's Integrity Unit began gathering evidence. This included testimony from the victim, witnesses who were at the camp, and WeChat message records. In November 2022, Shu was provisionally suspended. This meant he was temporarily banned while the case was being processed. Over the next 2 years, the ITTF tribunal reviewed all the material. Shu did not attend any of the hearings because he did not want to be there in person, or even just through a call. He did, however, submit written statements. The tribunal considered the victim's testimony credible and accepted the WeChat message evidence, showing Shu insisted on meeting her even after she said she was tired. They noted that Shu invited players to drink in his room, which in itself was inappropriate. They also found that Shu hugged the player inappropriately as she tried to leave. The tribunal concluded that Shu's actions were a serious breach of the ITTF's harassment rules. In December 2024, the ITTF tribunal issued its decision. Shu K was banned for 10 years, with the ban running until November 2032. He was also ordered to complete an ITTF-approved education program on consent and safe sport if he ever wanted to return. In addition, he was required to pay part of the legal costs related to the proceedings. The ITTF then published the decision publicly, with everyone's names redacted except for Shu K's. But Shu denied all wrongdoing. He posted statements on Chinese social media, claiming the verdict was false and that the process was unfair. He said there was no physical evidence and no police report. He also argued that the ITTF relied heavily on one person's account. His posts gained attention in China, China, trending on platforms like Weibo. In these posts, Shu claimed he had recordings that could clear his name, but he never released them. Over time, many of these posts were taken down or became inactive. Shu's wife, Chian Feng, a well-known South Korean player, was also caught up in the public attention. She had married Shu in 2022 and officially retired from professional table tennis in February 2025. She didn't say anything publicly about this case. Korean media reported that she returned to China after retiring and that she and Shu were expecting a child. Chian Feng was a 38-year-old table tennis coach based in Newmarket, Ontario in Canada. He ran a private club called the JF Table Tennis Club, which he operated out of his home. He was known in the local community for offering coaching sessions to young players. In late 2022, reports indicate that Soon began engaging in inappropriate conduct with one of his young students, at the time a 13-year-old girl, during private lessons. These allegations started in the fall of 2022 and continued into early 2023. The coaching environment gave him access to the victim, and according to police, all incidents took place at his residence, where the club was located. On February 11, 2023, York Regional Police opened a formal investigation after receiving a complaint from the young girl. The report detailed multiple instances of inappropriate abuse. Within 3 days, on February 14, 2023, they arrested Soon. He was charged with 3 counts of inappropriate conduct, 3 counts of inappropriate interference with a person under 16, and 1 count of invitation to inappropriate doing. These are among the most serious charges related to crimes against minors under Canadian law. At the time of the arrest, York Regional Police issued a public statement. They released Soon's photograph and shared it across media and official channels. The purpose was to warn the community and encourage any other potential victims or witnesses to come forward. Media outlets such as Global News, CTV News, City News, and local press covered the story widely. Soon was granted bail after his initial court appearance, under condition that he cannot interact with kids and his movements are restricted. The case was moving toward trial, but that trial never happened. On February 19, 2023, just 5 days after his arrest, Soon was found unalived near train tracks in Durham region. Police confirmed this situation was being treated as self-unaliving, but realistically, we will never truly know. This all meant the criminal proceedings were brought to an immediate end. The building where his table tennis club operated was no longer used for coaching. York Regional Police urged any other potential victims to come forward, but nobody did. If you are interested in watching documentary videos like this, feel free to check this one about the goat. Thank you for watching, take care of yourself, don't die, and bye-bye.